Everyone's JackelWolf back in the garden again for the weekend of June 30th, 2018. Not a whole lot to do this weekend. I think this is going to be mainly a garden poke. I've had a lot of rain, so I've got a lot of weeds I got to take care of. A lot of weeds I've been supposed to have taken care of for quite a while now. But that's on the menu for this weekend. I don't think I'm going to do any of that on camera. But we are going to do a little bit of a garden poke, and if I come across anything else that I do that I think might be interesting, I'll throw it in here as well. But let's start with the garden poke. So this is the second set of potatoes. They were about a week behind my main set. As you can see, they are just starting to come up. Not very big, but again, like I said, they are a little behind. Not too worried about it. I mean, it is what it is. There's not much I can do about it at this point. Onions are doing pretty good. I haven't seen any new ones bolt, none in this bed over here. I've got the couple over here that did, but I've taken off all those heads, and I don't see any new ones bolting, so whatever's left over, I'm fairly confident we're going to get a pretty good crop out of. I am really excited. If you watched last episode, I planted the seeds for the onions for next year, similar to how I did these ones. Because I had seemed to have so far had good success with them, I'm confident enough to try the same thing again, or at least something similar. I did plant them a little bit later, just trying to get away from having so many bolt. Though it's only been probably about 6 or 8 that I've noticed have bolted. So pretty good numbers as far as I'm concerned. I'm really looking forward to seeing how these ones turn out. Peas and beans seem to be doing very, very well. I've got a few flowers just coming out on the peas. You can see one back there, and there's another one over here. Now I've got to start getting these things underneath the twine just to give them a little bit extra support as they climb up. I may have to go and dig some twine out from some other places. I want to keep them back against the trellis rather than falling forward, because after a certain amount of weight, they will sort of collapse under their own weight, I guess. Beans are doing good. We should be seeing some flowers pretty soon. I think, if we look in there, I think there's going to be some flower heads in there. So maybe by next week, maybe the week after, we should start seeing some flowers, which will be turning into those beans. And I'm really interested. It's a different variety. Can't remember the name off the top of my head. But I got a little bit of weeding to do in here and in with the onions. These are probably one of my 2 best beds right now. We've had a ton of rain over the last couple of weeks. I've hardly had to water, which is something good. It takes a lot of effort and time to water the garden. So any extra help I get from Mother Nature is totally welcome. So these are the onions for onion sets that I planted last weekend. Not expecting them to be up. There are certainly a few weeds in here, which I'm going to have to clean out while they're early. But it may be just a touch early for these to have sprouted. It's only been like 7 days. But if I notice any, I'll definitely throw that on camera, either on Twitter or maybe even on my Pinterest or Instagram account. First set of potatoes, they are doing really, really good. They are getting pretty close to flowering. That's usually a sign that they are about to start setting potatoes. And 2 weeks after they flower, they say you can get in there and get out some baby ones. I'll probably leave these ones until I take them all up. I want to get as many potatoes and as big of potatoes as I can get. Though who knows, maybe if I need potatoes one night and I want to throw it on camera, it might be something I do a little dig in one of the corners, try to find a couple of baby potatoes. We'll move over to the other side for the onions as well, but this plant here, this onion plant here, is doing the same thing as that onion plant. I'm curious, I keep meaning to go onto Google and just to double check to see if, because I thought these were stir-on onions. I was expecting to get flowers. I made a mistake last year. I cut off the flower head that I meant to keep. So I kept these in the ground for one more year. So these are third-year onions. So I don't know if this is because it's a third-year onion, or maybe it has to do something with the weather. But I am a little surprised because I have had onion seeds before. I don't know what to expect. The good thing is, if these are doing what I think they're doing, I can plant these next year as onion sets, and I'll get onions out of them. So, I mean, I'm not disappointed. It's just a little bit different than what I was expecting. Now, the carrot bed is something I've definitely got to get into and weed. Looks like my spinach is bolted. I got it in here late. Actually, it was funny. I was put on a shirt the other day, and I found some seed, some purple spinach seed that I picked up last fall. It was like it was seed that was growing at a heritage house in town in Calgary, and I meant to plant it this year. I completely forgot about it. It's been sitting in my shirt in my closet for, I guess, 8 months. So I may do a fall planting of seed anyways, just to see if I can get a little something out of it. I might do it in pots so I can move it into my greenhouse and maybe extend its life a little bit as well. Garlic is doing good. As you can see, there are quite a few garlic scapes on here. I'm going to have to start cutting these off. Unlike the onion flower heads, these are really, really tasty. They're nice and like stir fries. You can even put them in salads. They've got a mild garlic taste, but they're really, really tasty. I really like them. One of my favorite things about growing garlic is these garlic scapes. You can't leave them too long. They'll get a little bit woody, but I do think that they are quite nice while we've got them. If I leave them on there, they'll turn to seeds like the flowers, like the onions that I was hoping to get. I don't want that. I want them to put all that energy into the garlic bulb, and then I'll be planting, half, maybe not even half, maybe a quarter of the garlic bulbs back into the garden again. Multiplier onions, you can see they are starting to split out. So I planted one bulb in there. Over the winter, it's split, similar to garlic. Each one of those new bulbs kind of put out its own shoot. And now that they're kind of, now that the bulb is starting to swell, they're pushing apart, and I could probably reach in there and pull out one or two without disturbing too many of the other ones, just to get a little bit for a salad or something like that. Multiplier onions are really tasty. I enjoy growing them. They're also super easy to grow as well, so you don't have to grow them from seeds. You grow them from sets very similar to the garlic. So second set of peas and beans, very, very similar to the ones down there. These peas are just starting to flower. The beans are probably about the same point as the other beans over there, because I think I planted them the same day. Lettuce is doing okay. I got to get in here and start, taking a couple of leaves here and there for salads. Be having some peas for salads pretty soon. This, if I remember correctly, are the peas for like actual peas. The ones down there are going to be the snap ones, which I'll eat with the pods. So it'll be interesting to see how they all turn out. So lettuce and cabbage. Now, if you watched some of the previous videos, I've never grown cabbage before. This is my first year. I don't know how far along it is. I don't know how well it is doing. I'm hoping it is doing good. It's definitely gotten a lot of water with all the rain we've gotten this year. We'll have to see how it turns out. I've got some hopes for it. Even if I get a couple small heads, I think I will be quite happy. Now, the leeks from last year, it looks like some of them are already bolting. This is more what I was expecting from the onions we looked at just a little bit earlier. This is going to open up into a big flower head, and it's going to have a lot of little tiny flowers, and probably by next week it'll be open. and we're having a couple of them here will probably be pretty good. Might get some good seed out of it. These were leftover leeks that I just kind of threw in here, not really knowing if they would get seed from them or if it would be something a little bit different. But I'm looking forward to that. At least I can show you what I was expecting there for the seeds. Alright, so we are in the greenhouse. As you can see, this is the first tomato that I planted. I want to say it was probably about a month ago. Alright, I didn't plant it, I potted it up, and he is doing really, really good. I'm going to leave these ones to start flowering and start setting tomatoes. This is a good size. The leaves are doing really well. I did do a little bit of a fertilize last week with some blood and or bone meal. This is the second one. They are doing pretty good as well. I think they've reached the top, so I'm going to start leaving them alone. You can see the watering jars are doing really well as well. I filled this one up last night, so it's sucking it up pretty good, but it is also keeping the soil pretty damp. I will get in here and give them all a good watering. I try to do at least once a week, and then I let the water bottles kind of maintain a balance throughout the week. Rosemary is doing good. Soil is still a little damp. As I've said before, these guys are like a desert plant, so I'll be doing my best to not water them. I'll only water them when they get really, really dry. Now these are my round tomato plants. They are still growing. They were like the last tomatoes to go in, but they are growing pretty quick. Same thing here. I'll give them a good watering on the weekend, and then I'll just use the bottles to maintain. Peppers are doing really nice. Water's holding pretty good. The self-watering pots are really nice. This is a bell pepper. I think I'm going to let him get a little bit bigger before I let him set any fruit. This is the jalapeno, and as you can see, it is starting to set some fruit. We should be seeing some flowers. Well, it's not starting to set fruit, it's starting to flower. I'm hoping that's showing up on camera. There's one right here. You can see the flower petals are starting to form on it. Probably by next week it will have opened up. Now I haven't had a chance to really talk about it yet because nothing's really flowered in here. Peppers and tomatoes are kind of self-pollinating. So, tripped over the watering can there. So as I kind of, every morning I'll come through and I'll just give a rattle, and the pollen will fall down on itself and fertilize the flowers and its own flowers. And it doesn't really need bees or ants or any of the other, pollinating insects. They will self-pollinate. The fans I've got in here will help a little. Just moving the air a bit, they'll help the pollen fall down as well. This was that first pepper I did, and I think I noticed last time, but I've got some aphids in here. I'm going to have to get some of my soap and water mixture. It won't hurt the plant, but it will hurt the aphids. Ants like to farm them. I generally don't mind ants in my garden, in my greenhouse. They're really good at moving dead matter around. But they do like to farm aphids, and those I do not like. So I'll give a spray here. It doesn't look too bad, but it will get worse if I let it. So, and this one here is pretty much almost at that point where I'm going to let it start setting fruit. There's a head in there I'm going to take out just to encourage a little bit more growth. If this was outside, I'd be really worried because I've really only got about 2 months left for them to grow. Because they're in the greenhouse, I probably can get another month out of them before it gets too cold for these things to grow. So last but not least is the strawberries and the raspberries. Somewhere else I got to get into with a little bit of the soapy water. I actually picked the first strawberry this morning, gave it to Creative Kitty 09. They were on their way to BC, so they're going to miss the bulk of the strawberries and raspberry harvesting. So that's good. It's going to leave it up to me every evening to come around here and pick all these raspberries. We have got an absolute ton this year. I can't believe how many raspberries we've got. Even the strawberries are good. I know I've said this like a couple of times, but there are so many. Like I've never seen this many, and they are going to be ready probably within 1 to 2 weeks. I probably will end up freezing a bunch. I might blend them, turn them into like little cubes for future slushies. So that's it for the Garden Poke, guys. Thanks for joining me in the garden. There's probably not much else to showcase this week. There's no harvesting, there's no planting, nothing really new to showcase. I got a lot of weeding, and I've shown that on camera. I don't think you guys need to see that any more than I want to do it. But once we start getting into the harvest, I'll definitely be doing some little bit more longer segments. But for now, this has been the week of June 30th, or the weekend of June 30th. I am JackelWolf. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at JackelWolf. And I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye! All right.
Yeah, also, let me show you to the staff room.
What's this sign over here? What's this particular sign
Oh,
right
yeah,
here?
it's the Employee of the Month.
Oh, that's the Employee of the Month. Who is the Employee of the Month this month?
John.
John the Bunny was the Employee of the Month?
Yep, John the Bunny.
He was the Employee of the Month.